I remember the moment the phone rang at home and my mum got the phone call from a friend of my sister's saying, does little Laurel of all of 13 want to come along and see a band at Festival Hall, the Boomtown Rats? I just went, oh my God! I can't believe it. He's actually in the studio, Mr. Bob Geldof!
And she's still going,
Bob Geldof is the one with the Irish accent and the ears bleeding at the moment, so just in case you didn't know.
How good is it to have the band back together?
I didn't think it would be good. I said to Gary, the guitar player, who called me, I said, yeah, I'll give it a go, but I'm not into nostalgia. I'm not into, pantomime. I won't do it if I don't feel it. I know this sounds silly, but if I don't feel the thing, if I don't feel the songs, I'm not going to do it. And he said, well, give it a go. I said, okay. And what happened was that the Isle of Wight Festival promoted. Isle of Wight in England is a huge rock festival. When I was a kid, I went there and I saw Hendrix, The Doors, The Who, Leonard Cohen, all on one bill on the same day. I mean, amazing. It was a 3-day festival. And the promoter, Giddings, rang up and said, will Geldof join the band again, and we'd do the Isle of Wight. And it was very compelling because this was my rock and roll moment. We'd played Glastonbury, which is the other classic. We'd obviously played Live Aid. I wasn't around for Woodstock, so there was one left in my sort of mythology. And I said, okay, I'll give it a go. And so this is the reality of it. I wouldn't be here plugging it if I didn't like it. I don't need to do it. And we got together, and I forgot how powerful this random group of men were, how good a band they were. And really I was taken aback because, I do my own thing. I've got my own band. We've just played Dubai. We're doing all this stuff. And I'd forgotten that this particular group, it wasn't a mistake, that this stuff was excellent. Though I say so, but there's enough time allowed now for me to say that. And when I began revisiting the words, re-singing them, the tragic part of it is that it could have been written yesterday, because we came out of chronic economic conditions in Dublin. None of us had jobs. So all we were left with was moaning about it, forming a band and moaning about it. We didn't know there were kids in the UK, the Sex Pistols, the Clash, Elvis Costello, the Strangs, or in New York, the Ramones, Blondie, Talking Heads, with the exact same thing going on. But of course there would be. And I just started singing about what I was living. I was sometimes I had a job in a slaughterhouse and I was just making notes about the people I worked with. That became our first number one. Sometimes I was queuing up in Dunleary in South Dublin in the dole queue in the rain, and I wrote down, the world owes me a living. And that was the first line you ever heard me say. It was our first hit. You don't know that. You're just something to do with your life. And you don't expect to ever make a record. It's just, at least it's activity. It's focused activity. Unbelievably, I could have written that yesterday. That's the really tragic thing. And of course Australia gets the benefit of that, because you get all these smart, bright paddies showing up here now, young kids. But honestly, it's not funny, because I go home to see my family. I live in London, but I go back to Dublin once a month. And to see these bright sparks full of life and ambition queuing up to leave, it's really awful. A country that cannot give its children a future is treasonous. I don't understand the point of being an adult and in government and failing like that, and not just getting out of the way. Just go away.
Well, it did have a boom period for a while. The Celtic Tiger was roaring for a while there. It just happened to be when I was over there, and the exchange rate was terrible. But now, what happened?
Well, you left.
They took all my money.
I mean, what happened was this international gangsterism, what the Aussies called the GFC, was a setup. I mean, fixing bank rates amongst known people who lied about the bank rates in order to make a profit for themselves. Vast billions. Credit derivatives, spread betting, gambling with our money. All of it's our money, gambling with it. The carnage. I mean, people forget now. They think that this crisis is over. I've just been speaking to some people earlier this morning, and I just said, when a tiny speck in the ocean, Cyprus, can destabilise the world financial system, this is nowhere near over. Nowhere near it. Are you kidding me? Not one of these people have gone to jail. Not one of them. I'm telling you now, anyone listening to this, or any of us in the studio who behaved in the same way in open criminality, we'd be in jail. Why aren't they in jail? Where were the risk managers in the banks? Where were the boards of the banks? Where were the risk managers in government, in the treasuries? Where were they? And of course, we're all money junkies. If somebody offers us money for free, thanks very much, we'll have it. And so when these shysters offered the poor of America, who are totally open to getting free money, and when they said, dude, I'm never going to be able to pay this back, I said, it's okay, you need a home. Yeah, I need a home, but I can't pay it back. I don't have a job. I never have a job. I've no qualifications. I'm ill, whatever. Nah, you can just sign there. But I'm too old. Well, just lie about your age. Literally. Mm-hmm. And then when the poor said, when somebody said, can we have the money back? They said, but I told you I couldn't pay it back. Bang. The poor of the world pulled the carpet out from these shysters. The poor of the world saved us. The poor of China saved us. The 400 million that were taken out of extreme poverty by trade, by working for very cheap, by extracting Australian ore and making the powerful economy that China is, and making you guys surf this crisis, and by making cheap goods that the rest of us could buy cheap in the moment of crisis. But aside from understanding this thing, the perpetrators are still there. They've just jiggled, as they say, the chairs on the Titanic. We're still in that crisis, and the Irish were at the epicenter of it. A banking crisis became a sovereign crisis. They destroyed 2 generations of Irish people. They destroyed the ability to function as a country. We know their names. They're still there. They're still living in grand houses. It's unbelievable to me that this goes on.
On that note, should they wipe off world debt then? Because I know...
Very good point. We are doing it. We're just calling it different names, The European Central Bank is calling it something to wipe out the debt of the default of Greece. They defaulted. And then they call it a different name, and everyone says, that's cool, because in economics, perception is reality. The markets are just a pop. It's a gamble. The Dow Jones has never seen days like it ever in its life. Yet the rest of the world struggles. And what you've got is the 1% who own 32% of the American economy, 1% of America. They're just transferring money amongst themselves, the 1%. 20% of America own 93% of that nation's wealth. This is nonsense. And apply that to the rest of the world. 60% of the world, 60% of all the human beings on this planet live on 6% of the total income of the planet. It doesn't work, guys. It's asymmetric. And instability is inherent to asymmetry. It topples, it wobbles, it falls over, the centre doesn't hold, it fell over. So the way we're doing things now cannot pertain. And the people who suffer are whole countries, the carnage that's left behind by these crooks, wasted lives, ruined families, lost businesses, lost homes, millions upon millions of people, Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, the poor of the United States. It sickens me, creeps. And so when the Boomtown Rats sing Looking After Number One, when they sing It's a Rat Trap, I will be in Brisbane in May, and I'm telling you, it will be with the clear intent of 1979. For me, this is not nostalgia. For me, this is right now.
It was Australian audiences. I mean, we all seem to get it. We loved that period of protest. I was a little bit too young for it, but our universities...
No, but you saw pop. You just sang those words and you saw pop and you screamed, and that's the way it should be. I mean, I have a point of view, but I wrapped it up in melodies and choruses, like "Tell Me Why I Don't Like Money." It must be about going to work with a hangover. Must be,
Oh, that's what it was about.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The film clip does not show that.
Oh dear, it's school again. I haven't done my homework. I don't like Mondays. You just...
And I was staring dreamingly at fingers. I mean,
Sorry, you bring that song up. I just want to ask. I don't want to ask about the meaning of it and everything, but how do you feel about today? I mean, 30 years past that song, I Don't Like Mondays. That situation in America is still going on. In fact, it's worse.
Yeah, I mean, well, what do you mean you don't? You want me to talk about it? I mean, the song was, for me, it's not about a specific girl who was killing her school friends, because that's what, I was there when that happened. And of course, it shocked me. I'd never heard of this before, but her father gave her a rifle every Christmas, and she was 15. What's he think's going to happen? But it wasn't about that for me. It was about a whole other things going on, and for other people, it was about going to work with a hangover. Great. That's the point of pop music, and eventually you're singing these words. Maybe it's not about going to work with a hangover. Maybe it's about something else. So it's a kind of insidious influence working in pop if the song is about something. Because it was the first one, or that we knew about, of the school shootings, and because this became a sort of unfortunate phenomenon in the United States. Well, not really. I mean, you saw Breitling up in Norway doing the same sort of thing. Unfortunately now, when something like that happens, they play this song, so it's become associated with this. I mean, they played it in The West Wing. Last series, I think Hugh Laurie played it on House, when he was playing the piano and stuff like that. I mean, it's odd for me. I wrote it on the hop in Atlanta in Georgia when I saw the news coming out of a telex machine, and I thought it was a B-side, but great, I mean, I'm thrilled with the check at the end of the year, 30 years later, and it's flattering that people know it. But, the problem is it so overwhelms everything else we did. We had 14, 15 hits on the trot. And, it's nice that people play it, but they think, oh, well, it was a one-hit wonder band. Au contraire, mon cher.
But Australians, we got the Boomtown Rats.
You didn't at the beginning, because you didn't get what we just talked about now.
Yeah.
That rage.
But you were big enough to tour here. I mean, if we hadn't have gone out and bought the
Sure.
Boomtown Rats, the Clash, another one, Sex Pistols.
You never really got what they were on about. But you got the style of it. You got the noise of it. But you didn't really associate it, except for the Saints. Do you remember the Saints?
Yeah.
Chris Bailey.
I'm Stranded. Fantastic
Local
band. I mean, I used to listen to them and go, great. But you guys, they didn't really happen here. They happened sort of in London.
It was a university underground type thing, but
yeah,
they could
that's
perform
because,
at uni, but
that's
not
because
at
the
festival
conditions
hall.
didn't pertain here. Like really now, I mean, you call yourselves a lucky country. In many ways, you can glide through it. Small population, giant rock of iron ore. You can glide through a lot. I mean, I have to say that I've been coming to Brisbane since '79, and I view the experience sort of like stop frame photography. When you see a flower opening up now, like it's a camera taking a picture every couple of minutes. And that's my kind of view of Brisbane. I came and you were a small town. I mean, weird. And I've been and I've played here and then gone out to Gundawindi and done a B&S ball, and stuff like that. And you come back in this giant gleaming city with fantastic restaurants, but you still got massive social problems. You're living on the edge of drought, all the time and things like that. But to see it change, to visibly see a country grow as you grow older is an incredible thing. But, that you do have rage, you do have anger, you see it daily in your confrontational politics. I mean, I'm just here with a friend of mine who just bemoans the confrontational sort of parish pump politics that goes on here. And not that doesn't occur in the United States or the UK either. I'm not sure that that's the answer to anything, though. I'm not sure that these are sort of outmoded logics, that the times that are in it, as we say in Ireland, don't demand new thinking and possibly new music.